coming for you. Come back.
Over the last couple months, the amount of times, like, as soon as Khabib fought, the amount of people that were just talking like, hey, you're the only guy that can match Khabib's wrestling. You're the only guy that can nullify his wrestling. I mean, to get yourself in the conversation, that's what it all is. It's all...
Well, styles definitely make fights, and that was what became very interesting after the Al Iaquinta fight, where people were looking at, okay, what about high-level wrestlers who have more refined striking?
Yeah.
And how do they line up? And Kevin Lee was a big one that people kept talking about, but you were a big one that people kept talking about too.
Yeah.
Because you were saying that you think you could beat him.
100%.
And him, you know, having that fight with Iaquinta, who he was a prohibitive favorite over, but it went the full 5 rounds. And, you know, Iaquinta, although never won a round, showed some chinks in the armor.
So chinks in the armor showed what happens when Khabib can't take you down. I mean, it's tough whenever the one thing that you've always been used to dominating with isn't working, and then you're stuck.
Right.
You know, you're stuck throwing punches, and you're in. You know, he's a little bit behind in the striking aspect, dude. I've got a ton of respect for the guy.
He's
ton
a
of respect. Mauler. I mean, at certain times he looks unbeatable. He has looked unbeatable where I've looked at it and other people have looked at it, and people that have fought him I've talked
like the
to.
Barboza fight.
Yeah,
like he just fucking mauled Barboza.
And it's just a battle of wills, man. You're inside of a cage, and it's just like we talked about. I knew I could outpace people. I knew I could out cardio them. I could out tough them. You know, certain people get to that breaking point and they break and they concede and they go into their shell and they say, I did a good job, but this one's on him.
Guys who don't have that deep wrestling background and they face a guy who does, there's moments in the fight where you see that, where you saw that 1,000-yard stare in Barboza's eyes where he's like, fuck. Like, I can't keep doing this. Like, he goes into defensive survival mode.
Yeah.
And, you know, when a guy does have a deep background in wrestling and also can strike, that's what makes it interesting.
Yeah.
And this is why MMA is such a complex sport, because there's so many variables. There's so many techniques you can use. There's so many situations where you might have an advantage or your opponent might have an advantage. And it's just, we live for these matchups, these stylistic matchups. So when something like that happens and a guy like Khabib has a fight where all these questions get presented, that's where a guy like Michael Chandler comes into the mix.
Yeah, well, and I love, like, after that fight too, because I said something. I posted a video. Did you see the video of me scrambling with Kamaru?
Yes,
like crazy. Like,
yeah.
And
that was awesome.
And I said, if all he has is wrestling, how do you beat a man who can't be taken down? You know?
Right.
And I got so many messages from, you know, Russian guys that just said Khabib time. You know,
right,
and it's just
of course,
you know, and it's like, yeah, I mean, it's one of those things, man. Where, I mean, that fight with Eddie, I mean, the fight with Khabib, it's exciting. You know?
Kamaru Usman has got to be going fucking crazy right now, seeing Colby Covington getting a shot at the interim title. He's like, you motherfuckers.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
nobody wants to fight that dude.
No, I wouldn't. I mean, that dude is. I mean, he's a specimen. He's got wrestling. He's got striking. I mean, you watch him spar, or you watch him hit mitts, or you watch his composure and his confidence while he's sparring and doing all that kind of stuff. You'd think he's been striking since he was 11 years old. You know, he just started after college. You know,
well, he had a tough fight with
Meek Mill?
Yeah.
Emil Meek or whatever?
Emil Meek. But I think that Emil Meek is extremely underrated.
Extremely underrated.
I mean, he's a fucking tough guy. Very physically strong. Very, very strong.
I was Emil Meek a couple times. I was like trying to mimic him.
Oh, were you in training camp?
Yeah, we were there at the same time. And he's done that. Him and I train a ton together. And it works out well for me because he's a bigger guy. I like to go with a little bit bigger guys so I can just continue to get stronger and manipulate bodies that are bigger than mine. You know?
Yeah, and a lot of people were criticizing him for not being able to finish Meek, but I'm like, you're crazy.
Yeah,
that guy is a fucking animal.
It's nuts the amount of people, you know, armchair quarterbacks that are literally out there like saying you should have finished this guy.
Yes.
We are all professional fighters training day in and day out. It's not easy to finish a guy sometimes.
Well, that's why I was saying you got to stay the fuck away from your Twitter mentions.
Yeah, it's like, man,
that shit's toxic.
Oh my goodness.
Especially for a guy like you, if you do have something like an ankle injury, like that one fight, and then you got to stay offline.
Yeah,
for a few weeks,
for sure. I mean, I still get it to this day. Well, are you training? Are you working on your rubber ankles? Are you? You know, it's like, oh, come on,
motherfuckers. They know where your soft spot is.
No, man,
they start poking.
That's good.
If I'm ready to be world champion, like undisputed, Doesn't matter who, like tall, short, striker or wrestler. I have to beat everybody, you know. And only I have to for become world champion, like for defend my title, you know. I have to beat anyone in the world, you know. Doesn't matter Michael Chandler or Justin Gaethje or other opponent. Like I don't care about this, you know. If something happen and Michael Chandler jump in, okay, welcome, no problem. But Coach Javier said if Michael Chandler gonna jump in, he want I fight on the stand up. He said I believe we can beat him on stand up, you know. With Justin Gaethje, everyone knows I'm gonna wrestle with him.
Yeah.
You have to be careful because I know Justin is very good on stand up, on his foot, on his kick, on his punch, you know, timing, everything. What he showed his last fight when he fight with Tony Ferguson, it's mean like I have to wrestle with him, you know. I don't need to change nothing about but Coach Hart said if Michael Chandler come in, I want to fight with him stand up.
I stepped into that octagon and feeling the cage, feeling the canvas, man. I was right where I needed to be all these years of that hard work. And I'm excited to go back, that I could beat these guys literally for the last decade. I've known this. I couldn't tell you that. I couldn't tell her that. I couldn't tell the fans that, because when I did, everybody said, well, why don't you jump over to the UFC? Why don't you prove it? But I'll tell you right now, I've been around these guys. I've been around the highest level guys that you admire. They admire everybody from California to New York and everywhere in between. I've been around all these guys and gals. I promise you they don't live their life like I do. I promise you they don't put the amount of work and emphasis into living the championship lifestyle like I do.
Being that Khabib wanted to see something special. Did he see it from Michael Chandler tonight?
I think he did, you know. And if he didn't, that's fine. Listen, there is no shortage of great lightweights. Listen, I think I beat Khabib. I think I beat him in wrestling. I think I stop his takedowns. I think I knock him out. I think I'm the first guy that is able to knock Khabib out. If I put my hands on him, I promise you he's going out.